That's been said, dear friends, let me also tell you that yesterday, late evening, or I might even say early this morning, because it was after midnight, I published on Patreon second news update. It's like 50 plus minutes, but which was divided on two news segments, one in the beginning and one towards the end of the video. And the first news segment, I did publish on YouTube and Rumble too. And I'm not going to repeat news, at least all of the news that I reported yesterday in that walk and talk type of video from streets of Moscow. And so if you're interested, please check that video on YouTube and Rumble. It is there. And well, that's been said, let's start this stream, by the way, news segment of it. And first of all, let me give you this news from RIA Novosti, that Pentagon confirms it will send additional weapons to Ukraine. Topic of US military supplies to Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky continues to make headlines because a couple of days ago, as we all know, reports are coming in that US halted deliveries of at least some weapon systems, mainly guided missiles for air defense systems and air-to-ground attack missiles, also anti-tank missiles, mobile air defense missiles like Stinger. So it was mainly missiles, although rumors were circulating that US is halting deliveries of all weapon systems. That was their initial report, but and then Western media outlet, by the way, especially one that is controlled by globalists, went crazy about it. Every time they had the opportunity, they were asking US President Trump about weapon supplies to Kiev regime. Yesterday was no exception. And Trump, during his meeting with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, was asked once again about this topic. And let me give you his answer, dear friends. He was quite clear what he intends to do. And well, I have a video on that. That's it, I believe.
Weapons to Ukraine?
We're going to send some more weapons. We have to. They have to be able to defend themselves. They're getting hit very hard now. They're getting hit very hard. We're going to have to send more weapons. Yeah, defensive weapons primarily, but they're getting hit very, very hard. Very sad. So many people are dying in that mess.
So he was very clear that the US will continue weapons supplies to this Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky, which means more people will be forcefully mobilized by Kiev regime. More people will be sacrificed for geopolitical agenda, geopolitical ambitions of their globalists, neocons, and the rest of their influential forces in the West, which is unfortunate. But yet again, none of us probably are surprised about it. Trump, in his statement, said that some defensive weapons will be sent to Kiev regime. Hard to tell what he meant by this. Just air defense missiles or maybe even tanks, because the argument can be made that, well, Kiev regime needs tanks, long-range missiles to strike deep into Russian territory to defend itself. You know, we all have seen such arguments from the warmongers in the West, right? So therefore, you know, just a couple of days, a week also, and probably we will find out what weapons exactly US will supply to Kiev regime. Defense Ministry, US Defense Department, Pentagon was quite quick to react on the statements of Trump. And let me also give you part of their statement from Pentagon. This is this part, by the way. At the President Trump's direction, the Department of Defense will send additional defensive weapons to Ukraine to ensure the Ukrainians can defend themselves while we work to secure a lasting peace. Yes, I mean that's the way to go. When you want peace, you are sending more weapons. You are fueling conflict further. I mean, something is wrong with these people, man. Their brains are dead. Our framework of POTUS to evaluate military shipments across the globe remain in effect and is integral to our America First defense priorities. At this point, whenever you hear America First from these guys that are formally at least in charge in in US, I mean, love is a first reaction, isn't it? They already proved time and again that they are anything but America First. Let's be real on that, isn't it? It's going to be costly for US, dear friends. Longer US is engaged in this proxy war against Russia, more harmful for US itself this will be. And I'm not just talking about harm due to expenses in terms of weapons and money. No one should have any doubts that no one will forgive or forget what US has done against Russian citizens, against Russia and other NATO member states, and time will come for retaliation, for justified retaliation. It's not Russia that brings its military infrastructure next to US or next to any other NATO member state, right? That are leading this charge against Russia now. It was these NATO member states that were bringing their military infrastructure closer and closer, and they're trying to encircle Russia, basically. And unfortunately, at some point, as it was predicted, they even managed to provoke this high-intensity conflict while sacrificing Ukraine. But yet again, no one should have any illusions in regards to price that NATO countries will pay, because they're going to pay heavily. It's inevitable, by the way. It's just absolutely inevitable. And no one should blame Russia then, No one should blame Russia. No wonder why collective West is hated all over the world, by the way. Because of their terrorist activity, because of their criminal activity, because of their attempts to bully everyone and provoke wars all over the world. At some point, they're all going to pay heavy price. Nevertheless, let's continue with some more reports. Wall Street Journal, by the way, come up with an article that US President Donald Trump told Zelensky he was not responsible for weapons holdup. Let me give you some details. This is becoming really bloody circus, by the way. Collective West is a bloody circus, for sure. So during a phone call with Zelensky that happened like a few days ago, Trump said he was not responsible for the suspension of arms supplies to Ukraine. Trump told Zelensky that he had not ordered a freeze on arms deliveries to Kiev, signaling that the United States remains committed to provide military aid to Ukraine. In a phone call on Friday, Trump explained to Zelensky that he had ordered a review of the Pentagon weapons stockpiles following the US strikes on Iranian nuclear sites last month. The sources said, however, he did not order a freeze of arm deliveries. The call came shortly after Trump admitted he was very disappointed and had made no progress on a peace deal with Russia in a separate call with President Putin on Thursday. According to Kremlin, Trump called on the Russian president to end the war, but he refused. And we'll understand, dear friends, what is going on in terms of Russian position. Moscow is not interested in no temporary so-called solutions. Russia is not interested in so-called 30-day ceasefire or anything like that, because we all understand that our enemies of Russia, US, France, Germany, UK, and others, will use this leadership there, will use this break to rearm, resupply, reorganize their proxy in the Kiev regime and its forces, and then to restart again, right? So therefore, why would Russia give such a break to its enemies, man? It makes no sense, isn't it? Russia is interested in a complete resolution of the conflict, which will require root causes to be addressed. That's how it is. And the Russian president was very clear once again about it during his recent conversation with Trump. Let's continue. Anyways, the source also said that Trump assured Zelensky that the United States would send as much military aid as it could spare. However, the Pentagon spokesman said the supplies remain frozen. White House press secretary Caroline Lloyd said at the briefing Monday that Defense Secretary Pat Hexeder initiated the review when he took office to make sure that everything that leaves the warehouses is in America's best interests. The frozen shipments include allegedly frozen, by the way. At this point, I don't even believe that anything was frozen, right? Yet again, anything that comes out from Washington should be taken with mountain of salt, by the way, because they are using public discourse, they are using politics, diplomacy as a deception tool. So therefore, nothing to be trusted, right? But nevertheless, that's the report that allegedly frozen shipments include Patriot interceptor missiles, AIM-120 anti-aircraft missiles, howitzer rounds, AGM-114 Hellfire missiles, GM-LRS guided missiles for the HIMARS systems, Stinger anti-air missiles, portable air defense missiles, and grenade launchers, and who knows what else was reported that were allegedly freeze, but in reality nothing was freeze. It's just a noise, by the way, just a noise that Washington is making. Probably all this topic, dear friends, of freezing weapon supplies truly was used as a deception of the Moscow, because day after a news broke that Pentagon is freezing some deliveries, Trump called Russian president. And probably he was thinking, or his inner circle, that, well, they will manage to fool Russian side, because, I mean, they will say, look, we froze some weapon supplies yesterday, so we are serious about it. But they cannot be trusted, man. It is what it is, right? Everyone and forever should remember that collective Western ruling class regimes that they control in the West are using diplomacy as a deception, as a tool of deception. So they cannot be trusted, ever. Let's continue with some more news. Andrea Novosti is reporting that Russian military is liberated. There are 2 more settlements in the zone of special military operation, and these settlements are Bisalovka in the Sumy region and Dachno in the Dnipropetrovsk region. This information is confirmed by Defense Ministry. And dear friends, I did report about this progress of the Russian armed forces. I mentioned several times that Dachno settlement in the Dnipropetrovsk region is under Russian control, but we did not have official confirmation from Defense Ministry about this progress of the Russian armed forces, and now we have it. So it's official. Russian armed forces not just established control over this Basalovka settlement, which is right on the border, by the way, and has at this point importance, tactical level, because we all know that Kiev regime was sending thousands of its troops to break into Kursk region in Chotkina area, right? Chotkina and Novy Put area, and despite heavy clashes, despite hundreds and thousands of Kiev regime troops being killed in this direction, they were unable to establish their bridgehead in the Kursk region, right? And Chotkina is under full Russian control, entire this territory, by the way. And I guess Kiev regime's forces that were sent on these suicidal missions did run out of steam, and they were using this Basalovka settlement also for flank attacks on Chotkina. And well, I guess they ran out of steam, and Russian troops not just established full control over their surrounding areas right next to Chotkina settlement, but also across the border, and established control over this logistical point for Kiev regime's forces in the Sumy region, Basalovka settlement. Important developments on sectoral scale. And when it comes to Dachnoye, by the way, it's in Dnipropetrovsk region. of course. And well, this is it, I believe. This is the Dutch name area in Dnipropetrovsk region, which is under Russian control for about a week now, if not more. But Russian Defense Ministry, it's extremely conservative institution, by the way, and quite often Russian Defense Ministry confirms progress of the Russian armed forces with significant delay. Like sometimes it's a day or two, sometimes it's a week, right? So we all know that this or that settlement is already under full Russian control, but Defense Ministry takes time and reports about it, with significant delay. But whatever, they know what they are doing. So it's official. It's official now. These settlements are under Russian control. And initiative, by the way, is in Russian hands all along the front line. All along the front line. And no matter how much money, how much weapons collective West going to send to their proxy in Kiev to prolong this war against Russia, they're not going to be able to turn the tide. It's just not possible. Even on theoretical level, by the way, it's just not possible, right? Meanwhile, also interesting report from this morning that Russian drones reportedly hit Ukrainian so-called recruitment centers in Zaporozhye and Kharkov. And this is, by the way, is becoming a sort of a new tactic. I spoke about it in previous updates. Sort of a new tactic when Russian forces are targeting these so-called recruitment centers that are kidnapping people, by the way, from the streets, from the shopping malls, from, in many cases, from their own homes, by the way, right? Kidnapping people, and in a couple of days, those people are either killed, by the way, by Kiev regime's forces, if they are refusing to obey orders. And there are many people being killed, by the way, by these so-called recruitment officers. Either they are in a couple of days somewhere in the trenches on the line of contact. And well, to basically save as many lives, by the way, on Kiev-controlled territory as possible, Russian troops began targeting these criminals that are serving Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky, and are literally kidnapping thousands of people on a monthly basis to forcefully mobilized and sacrificed for geopolitical agenda of the West. Every single day now, for last week or two, we are receiving reports that the so-called recruitment centers were targeted. There are many offices of these recruiters are shutting down, allegedly, because they are just afraid, right? Which is a progress, which is a good thing. And the locals, by the way, according to reports on internet, locals are happy about it. They truly are. They hate this recruitment so-called officers, man, because they all see them as criminals, right? As criminals and the terrorists. So let me show you a video of this morning's strikes on these recruitment offices. So where is that video? I guess that's it. So once again, yeah. And I guess that recruiters that were in that building most likely will never ever kidnap nobody, right? To sacrifice for the geopolitical agenda of the West. And whoever was there at the point of the strike not there will probably think more what they are doing. Let's continue with some more news. And next is this report from Vzгляд newspaper that fighters of the is it a correct translation, by the way? So fighters of the North group of forces, by the way, Russian fighters, find out that there are South Korean mercenaries, by the way, that are fighting allegedly in Sumy region. In the Sumy region, why translation is not working? Okay. Fighters of the North group discovered South Korean mercenaries in Ukrainian armed forces near Sapkov settlement, which is a Sumy direction. Interrogations of their prisoners of war have shown that groups of mercenaries from South Korea are operating in the 132nd Separate Reconnaissance Battalion in the area of the village of, excuse me, Satki. Their unofficial Telegram channel of the Sever group of forces, Sever veteran group, reported. Sever is a North group of forces, by the way. Reported. And this is interesting, I believe, because, well, we all know that North Koreans did participate in operations on Russian side and help Russia to liberate Kursk salient area from invading forces of the Kiev regime and their NATO mercenaries. And I guess Seoul, South Korean leadership, South Korean militaries also want their troops to have some real battle experience, and most likely they are sending some of their special purpose units on Kiev controlled territory to receive this experience, right? So probably they are participating in a fight on side of Kiev regime. Big mistake on part of Seoul, because yet again Russia will not forget and Russia will not forgive, right? And South Korea will pay heavy price for this crime. I don't believe these are just mercenaries, by the way. I mean, some days, some South Koreans just wake up and said that, you know what, I'm going to go fight for Western-backed terrorist regime of Zelensky in so-called Ukraine. I mean, vast majority of South Koreans probably have no freaking idea where Ukraine is, and definitely don't care about Ukraine whatsoever, and never did and never will, right? So therefore, I believe this is a special operations units of the South Korea that were detected on line of contact, and okay, they will go back to their country in a body bags, most likely, as they should. Hello everyone, I hope you find informative and useful this short clip from main news update, and if so, please click that like button and leave some commentary just about anything. It might help to deal with the algorithm and reach wider audience. And if you like my work in general and want to support to save this media project, you can assist through several ways. You can donate to this project through PayPal platform or Boosty, also with the crypto currencies, or you can subscribe to my Patreon page and page on Boosty, where I have quite a lot of extra content on regular basis. All the links are on this video in description box and in the pinned comment. And of course, many thanks to everyone who already helped and continues to support. Thank you.